This scene's for the freaks. Don't invent your own torture. You never want to just start glowing. Like, do you even want to win this war? We're getting our miracle, babe. Thank you, but she absolutely will not be internalizing that. We are taking the silver pill. Ah, if I love you, you'll die. Oh, buddy, it's war crime time. Oh no. Hello! Today we are taking on part 2 of the 1,000-page traditionally published formerly Dramione fanfic that is Alchemised by SenLinYu. If this is your first exposure to Alchemised, then you should probably check out my part 1 in world building video, which is gonna be like somewhere. You'll find it. You'll find it. You're smart. And if you don't want to do that, look, like, it's your life. I'm not going to make you do it. So part 2 is long, clocking in at 576 pages. It is the longest part of the book by far, and I hope you are hungry because it is the meat. So this part starts about 4 years before the end of part 1. A war in Palladia has been going on for about 5 years. The bad guys are the Undying, and they're aligned with the evil high necromancer Moro. They're not afraid to use necromancy in their fight for control over Palladia. And the good guys are the Resistance, led by the young Luke Holdfast, whose family has ruled Palladia for 500 years. The Resistance has been fighting hard, but it's an uphill battle. Control of Palladia's islands and buildings has been going back and forth for years. The crematoriums are always running, but they'll fight until there's no one left. However, the Resistance may have a new spy at their disposal whose involvement could turn the tide of the war. And that's the gist. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up. And yes, there will be spoilers. Turn back now if that's not your thing. Also, if you weren't here for my part 1, Alchemised has a reputation for being like a little bit icky, so I'm going to throw up a list of content warnings just for this section only. I'm not going to be super descriptive with all the ick this time, so it shouldn't be like too bad, but if any of this is like absolute deal breaker for you, turn back now. I don't mind. So at the ass end of the war, Helena Marino, our beautiful protagonist, is the only healer the Resistance has. She uses vivimancy to heal, unlike doctors who just use medicine. Working in the hospital has left her absolutely black-pilled on the state of the war. So despite all of their losses, Luke still thinks that they can win. And one of those losses is Lila Bayard. She's Luke's paladin primary, and she lost her leg, and she's like itching to go back to battle. So even though Helena and Luke have been friends since they were 10, Helena's been avoiding Luke. She's considered a bad influence because her vivimancy is seen as this whole like evil thing. Helena is a member of the Order of the Eternal Flame, which is the inner circle of the Resistance. She got in a little bit of trouble because she proposed consensual necromancy to protect their living combatants, but the council hit her with the hardest no. Okay, so yeah, they're losing the war, but they're not going to lose their values. Ilva Holdfast, Luke's great aunt and steward, pulls Helena aside for a chat with Jan Crowther, the Resistance's spy master. So Kane Farron, who is a high-ranking member of the Undying, has offered to spy for the Resistance in exchange for a full pardon and for Helena Marino, now and after the war. And that's super weird because like he didn't really know Helena, and he also says that he wanted to avenge his mom, and they know that she died of a heart attack. But we're going to trust him because he actually told them how they can kill the Undying and liches by ripping out this piece of lumithium that's in their chest. It even kills their necrothralls. And that's a huge improvement over their old strat, which was fire. Helena reluctantly agrees to be his liaison, and this whole mission is so super secret that they're like not even going to write it down. The next day, Crowther preps Helena for her first meeting with Kane. He wants her to manipulate him either through vivimancy or funny business. And he negs her the entire time, so like that's cool, he sucks. Helena goes to this defunct factory on the river called the Outpost. Here it is on the map. There's also tenements there, no idea why, and that's where Helena and Farron meet. He still looks 16 and he has dark hair and gray eyes. The tenement looks like absolute shit, by the way. It's a very like classic male living space. And even though teen boys should have no power over anyone, Helena's scared of him. He makes her vow to be his as long as she lives, and in exchange, he won't interfere with her ability to help the Resistance, namely like hurt her or like stop her from healing. Farron also makes her kiss him. It's her first kiss, and she uses it to kind of like check him out with her resonance, and she notices that he feels weird and unnatural, like many teen boys do. And when they stop, he says, "You are full of surprises," he added after a moment, voice lower than before. Helena wasn't sure what to say to that, so she just said the first thing that popped into her head. "Do you say that to every girl?" He huffed a laugh and ran his hand through his hair to brush it off his face. "No, can't say I do." Part 1 girls, you know! And Farron gives her this enchanted silver ring. He also has one. I know, friendship rings. He'll use it to signal if they need to meet. Farron gives her the intel in an envelope addressed to Aurelia Ingram. She's technically his fiance, but he is like so not interested in her that this is her only part 2 mention. When Crowther sees the ring, he immediately clocks it as Kane's mom's. She was a silver alchemist. The next time Helena sees Farron, he uses Vivamancy and Animancy on her. He sees a memory of Helena dipping her ring into a mirroring elixir that hides the ring from snooping eyes. This is the Resistance's intro to Animancy. So if Helena gets captured, an Animancer might read her memories, and we can't have that. It's not like true mind reading, it's just like a whiff of a memory, you know, like an image, and she can swerve it by just intentionally thinking about something else. Yes, he has experience with this, if by experience you mean torture. And Helena asks if that was before or after he killed Principate Apollo, to which Farron says, Farron stared at her, his mouth twisting. Are you wanting a confession? Shall I tell you everything I've done? She stared into his mocking eyes. Do you want to? There was a flash of surprise that softened his features for an instant. He was lonely. And when Helena tells Crowther about this, he cuts her off from all secret Eternal Flame info. Since Helena's going to be playing totally spies, Ilva and Falcon Matthias, who's like the high priest of the faith, bring on 4 new healers, the most relevant being Elaine Boyle. Helena and Matron Pace will train them, which is super annoying because Falcon Matthias actually did not like Helena's combo of medicine and healing. So it's like, oh, but it's okay when they do it. We can teach them to do it, and it's fine. Cool, got it. Even though Animancy is super rare, Helena has it. She can route her mind away from things she doesn't want to think about or remember. Good for her. Wish we all had that. Anyway, the Resistance is so low on supplies that Helena has to forage for moss and willow. And out in the marshes, she sees someone dying and their necrothralls bring up this fucked up affront to God. It's a chimera, and it's this sort of pig, cat, lizard creature. If it could talk, it would only say, kill me. They use it to fuck up a necrothrall. Later, Farron tells her that there will be more chimeras, so she'll need to train. It may sound like they're getting along, but they're really not. He tries to bully her into stripping for him, and she's like, you just want to hurt me because you're dead inside. And you might recall that this is our love interest, but don't worry, because we have about 500 more pages left to redeem him. Back to the Institute. To help Helena process the items she forages, Ilva offers her Shiseo, an alchemist from the Far East who came to Palladia for political asylum. And even though the Holdfasts love collecting foreign alchemists, they wouldn't really let them near any of their special Palladian holy stuff. The Kane redemption arc begins now. Helena heals Farron because his arm was totally ripped off. He was injured dueling a fellow Undying commander, and she asks him if being made Undying was a punishment, to which he replies. He glanced at her, his face empty. How could immortality be a punishment? It's what everyone wants. And unfortunately, after this, Helena does see Farron as human. So like Pokemon, the Resistance catches a chimera. But unlike Pokemon, Helena will be dissecting it. Shiseo is her assistant, and he's clearly overqualified. Helena has this little lab space she commandeered, and she offers it to Shiseo for whatever cool science experiments he feels like doing. Thanks to Farron's intel, the Resistance retakes the East Island in one huge attack. They even get real medical supplies after liberating a laboratory full of prisoners experimented on beyond recognition. And something about the horrors doesn't make it feel like a W for Helena. They bring in even more healers, girls that didn't even know they could be Vivomancers. Remember what Stroud said in part 1 about the Holdfasts tracking Vivomancer pregnancies? Well, and when Helena sees Farron, he has been boo-booed to fuck. So remember when Farron lost his arm in the duel? That wasn't just a thumb war gone wrong. That was so he could control the ports that the Resistance just took back. And he knew Mora would punish him for losing them, but he spilled the goss anyway. And he thought that she knew that was his plan. So up until this point, Crowther, Ilva, and even kind of Helena believed that Kane was gearing up to betray them. But he didn't. He's a real one. We like him now. Farron takes off his shirt to reveal this rotting, infected array carved into his back. It's powered by lumithium that's been welded into his bones. Since Bennett, who's Morrow's crazy evil alchemist scientist, was the guy who lost his lab, he put the array in Kane's back as a punishment. If Farron survives this, he'll be forgiven. And the array has 8 points, each of which point to this alchemical representation of a concept. And those concepts are calculating, cunning, devoted, determined, ruthless, unfailing, unhesitating, and unyielding. And if it works, it might whittle Farron down to just those 8 qualities and erase everything else. And later we're going to learn that he designed the array because if he was going to get fucked up, he wanted to decide how. So it's Helena, do you like it? Is it cute? He made it. Helena heals him, which is big because it means she's revealing that she's a Vivomancer. After this, she and Kane seem to understand each other better. She seems to genuinely care for him. And thinking about Helena as a healer and thinking about like all of the combatants that she couldn't save, I do wonder if there's some kind of allure to Kane being like perpetually savable. Also, we're calling him Kane because they're on that level now. And that means she sees him every day to treat his back with a special salve that she and Shiseo made. The next time Kane goes to the outpost, a necrothrall takes her to a fancy panic room built by Kane's grandpa, and Kane's waiting for her there, drinking, even though the Undying literally heal too fast to get drunk. As Helena cleans his wounds, she whips out this amulet that Ylva gave her when she became a healer, and since she started wearing it, Vivimancy hasn't worn her out so much. Maybe it'll help Kane. But she accidentally breaks it, and this like silvery white, quicksilver-like substance splatters on the ground, and it's like humming. So operating on vibes alone, she uses alchemy to like push it into Kane's heart. He glows silver and then goes back to normal, which is so good. You never want to just start glowing. He gets a little better every day, but his physical dracofication has begun. His hair and eyes start to turn silver. He's also starting to look more like an adult, which is good. It's less weird that way. Kane tells her that Moro's trying to find the Sevgashian prison guard, but it's hard because the Undying will die if they go too far away from Moro. So the Undying are made out of pieces of Moro's bones called phylacteries, and in exchange they get a piece of metal in their chest called a talisman. So he can like take the phylacteries out to travel, but obviously he's not just going to let his puppies run. And no, like Kane can't just steal his because like it would fall apart and I guess make him go insane. And he can't go insane because he just got a pet chimera he's supposed to train. He asks her what she would do if she were him. And we get this like sexy exchange. He caught her chin, tilting her head back until her eyes met his. There was a vaguely silver gleam in them. If you were me, what would you do? She stammered. I would see if I could make it loyal. And if you couldn't, if a monster can't be made loyal, what would you do then? Their faces were close. Helena's throat tightened, her heart beating too fast. I'd look for flaws in the transmutation, she said. The splicing isn't very good, so there are mistakes that could be aggravated to accelerate deterioration. You wouldn't have to kill it outright, you'd just speed up the inevitable. Oh my gosh, are they talking about the chimera or each other? Do you think they should kiss about it? And later, Kane repays her for all of this by attacking her. He doesn't hit her this time. He just brings in a bunch of necrothralls, which terrifies Helena because she is normal. She screams and throws out her hands and explodes the necrothralls. And Kane is like, what the fuck, Marino? And now it's time for Helena's backstory. So, long ago, when Helena came to Palladia, her dad came too. And when the war started, he stayed because she did. They worked together at a field hospital. He was a surgeon. So the hospital was attacked by liches before they knew what liches were. The Undying put talismans into living bodies as a fun test. And they looked like delirious patients running like super hot fevers. They killed patients, reanimated the bodies, and killed all the field hospital staff, including Helena's dad. Helena was the only survivor. And then they found out that she was a Vivimancer. And then she was made a healer. She says to Kane, you have no idea how hard it is to save someone, to fix all the ways people like you break them. She glared at him. I hope someday you have to try. See how little you think of it then. Girl, he will. Okay, Kane chunk over for now. The Resistance had a scout named Vanya Getlick who was made a test subject at the Westport lab. They tried to turn off her alchemy and then dumped her. Her body looks normal, but Helena can barely use resonance on her, much less heal her. After Getlick dies, Helena autopsies her and finds mystery compounds in her blood, and you don't want that. She takes some samples for the metallurgists to analyze. And when she tells the council this, Falcon Matthias is like, why would anyone want to suppress alchemy? Helena, you're evil, you'd know. Like, do you even want to win this war? Like, if you had a way to make your opponents not alchemists, would you not take it? Your enemies who want you dead would. They clearly are. Helena takes advantage of Lumithia's abeyance, which is like the point where alchemy is at its weakest, to fully heal Kane's back. The abeyance also means that Kane can finally get drunk. And boy, howdy they do. And they flirt. They like genuinely flirt. And then Kane drops the iconic quote of this book. You're like a rose in a graveyard, he said, his lips twisted into a bitter smile. I wonder what you could have turned into without the war. And this was the big quote from Manacled and it's back for Alchemized. It's a pretty picture, but it like really doesn't make sense because Palladians burn their dead. And Helena's just drunk and emotional enough to talk about her dead mom. So she was sick all Helena's life and then died in her sleep when Helena was 7. Helena found her, and then she was terrified that she or her dad would be next. And then they kiss, and it is wonderful. She didn't realize how starved she was for affection, but she is eating good now. To be clear, this book is the slowest burn. It is page 460, and we are finally getting a genuine smooch. As they kiss, Helena shames herself for wanting him to want her. She convinces herself that he doesn't. He's just drunk. And then she pulls away and starts crying. She's like, "You don't even like me." And he just kind of like looks at her and is like, "Why do you think I was kissing you?" And she's like, "'Cause I'm here." And he's like, "Why'd you kiss me?" And she says, "You made me feel like the parts of me that aren't useful still deserve to exist. Like I'm not just all the things I can do." And it's heartbreaking, honestly, that she fundamentally does not believe that she deserves love and connection. She's so used to being needed that she's forgotten what being wanted feels like. Anyway, no sex, but they do have a slumber party on the panic room couch. Later at the hospital, a girl named Sophia Purnell summons her to see Crowther. And Helena's pretty sure that Purnell is one of Crowther's spies. And Crowther's in the dungeons under the Institute with this girl, Ivy, who's this 15-year-old vivimancer. Ivy's using vivimancy on this prisoner, Eric Lancaster, during enhanced interrogation sessions. Now, you may wonder what their god the sun thinks about this, and he's actually totally fine with torture if it's on necromancers. Helena heals him in between torture sessions. They're keeping him alive until they find Wagner, who's the Hevgoshian prison guard that Mora wanted to find. After a bunch of rounds of torture, Lancaster's cooked. He thinks Helena's the one who tortured him, and he threatens to fuck Helena's shit right up. When Helena goes to the outpost, necrothralls who don't belong to Kane attack her. She does a little DIY surgery on herself before Kane shows up. Things are going bad because she burned out her residence defending against the thralls. Kane asks if she's transmuting physical injuries away or using her life force to save them. She does both? And that's bad. Vivimancy has a physical cost called the toll, which kills vivimancers. Mothers of vivimancer babies often die early. According to the faith, Helena's vivimancy drained her mom, and she can only atone by healing and healing and healing until she dies. Kane's like, "That's bullshit," and then he tries to steal her life force. Her body automatically rejects him. And he's like, "Okay, so do you see how you can't just steal life? And honestly, if you could, do you think Mora would be doing all this?" And then he shows her how to snatch the life force reanimating a necrothrall. That's a lot less likely to burn her out than exploding them all will. Only animancers can do that. "How'd you realize?" she said. A thin smile curved across his face. "It was just a guess." She flushed. And finally, Helena gets to be seen. So Kane's gonna train Helena for real, but first she needs a better knife. She asks Ilva, but Ilva doesn't give a single fuck. If it's not intel, she does not want it. Instead, she pushes Helena to keep Kane on the hook. Does she not want to save Luke? And Helena says, "I just realized, if I succeed, you'll control Farron the same way you used Luke to control me. It makes me feel rather sorry for him." Ilva didn't look at her. "Well, he'll deserve it more than you do." Damn, Ilva's cold-blooded. Shiseo tests Helena for a weapon alloy, and in exchange, he wants to take a look at the metals inside Getlick's blood. She accepts. He suggests she try a nickel-titanium alloy, even though that's not super common in Palladia. And a fun fact, nickel and titanium are commonly used in medical devices. Kind of fitting. Anyway, one day Lila briefly goes missing in an ambush, and Luke loses it. He is in a frenzy. He is burning people. Even Crowther gets hit. Helena heals Crowther, and while doing so, she fixes his arm that's been paralyzed for ever. Lila's recovered pretty soon after, but she's all fucked up. Her bones are broken, her armor's punctured, her lungs were bitten. They fought Blackthorn, who's this sadistic, profoundly fucked up member of the Undying. Helena heals her, but it drains her. And she sleeps for 3 days straight. And Pace is like, "Hey, we need you too, right?" "Thank you, but she absolutely will not be internalizing that." Also, Shiseo identified the alloy that was in Getlick's blood. It's Mo Lian Shi, a rare metal found deep in the mountains of the east. Bet you didn't expect a little Chinese in this recap. It's a kind of inverse lumithium in that it takes away resonance. And when it's combined with lumithium, it blocks resonance entirely. We will call this compound nullium from now on. Right now, it's unstable. But in a few months, who knows? But the bigger question is, how did they get this? It's a huge secret in the East. Shiseo suspects that the new emperor must have sold it to Moro, and that's why he asked to take a look at it. The next time Helena sees Kane, she asks if the Eternal Flame can win. And he's like, "Well, do they have a strategy?" And she's like, kinda. So that's a no. Kane says, "The High Necromancer will do whatever it takes to win. The method doesn't matter. He wants Palladia, ideally with the city intact, but if he can't get it, he'll raise it instead. You're fighting someone whose only objection to genocide is the waste of potential resources. Even a genocide is acceptable if it leaves him with the materials for more necrothralls. And you're trying to win by what? Waiting for Soul's intervention? Is there any plan that doesn't hinge on the inherent superiority of goodness? And Cain, bud, you know there isn't. But ultimately, it's like that's what this war comes down to. Moro wants to win. Like, he will take risks and he will develop new murder tag. And the resistance, I mean, like, it's in their name. Their job is to simply stop that. How? I don't know. They're going to let go and let God. Like, do you not feel some kind of secondhand embarrassment at all of that? We got to talk about why the war started. Now, you heard me talk about this in part 1, but that was the Xtina take, and now we need Cain's take. We are taking the silver pill. And yes, it is the silver pill because he has silver hair and eyes now. So the Holdfasts claim to hate politics and that they don't want to rule, but somehow they refuse to step down. Every now and then, they bring in special little foreigners to show off how cool and generous they are. They did that with Helena and Shiseo, and they kept those foreigners grateful to them while doing the bare minimum. Like, it took a whole war to find a real surgeon job for Helena's dad. Before that, he was just like a doctor in the slums. Moro was supposed to break down that hierarchy. His takeover was supposed to be quick and easy, but then Atreus was arrested. Obviously, Helena, biggest stan in the hashtag Luke army, doesn't want to hear it. But just because it makes you sad doesn't mean it's not true. Anyway, for Solstice, aka Palladium Christmas, Helena thoughtfully makes him a special medical kit and teaches him some healing techniques. And she's like, you could probably heal anything except for eyes. Those are super hard. You should find me for that. Oh no. And he gets her a beautiful set of alchemy knives, a long one and a short one made of her special alloy. She should wear these all the time. Back at headquarters, Helena and Shiseo are working on removing Nullium from blood. Nullium's still not super effective, but it's getting better every day. These fuckers want them dead and they need to be ready. Ilva's Solstice gift is a Palladian lore drop. So back when they retook the ports, they intentionally used a ton of Cain's intel because they wanted him killed. So why isn't he killed? Helena reveals that she used the Sunstone on him. Whoopsie! That was not for him. That was so that the toll wouldn't affect Helena so she could keep healing Luke. So Palladia was once called Rivertide. The necromancer came to Rivertide and tricked a lot of people into sacrificing themselves into this magic goo known as the Stone of the Heavens. He used it to fight Orion, but he lost the battle and the stone. Obviously, Orion didn't want anybody else getting juiced, so he said, actually, the sun gave it to him. But it was not a miracle. It was bullshit. Anyway, the stone wouldn't let the Holdfasts use it. But it liked Helena, so they gave it to her. And I guess she should have just, known that it was too special to use on that fucker who killed Apollo Holdfast. And actually, she should kill Cain. How about that's her job now? And if she won't do it, Ilva's gonna make sure that the Undying will. Helena didn't realize this was all about revenge. She's like, if I can get Cain in line within a month, would you not kill him? Sure. Fine. Whatever. And later, Helena realizes they only told her about the stone thing because they knew nobody would believe her. And she has a little breakdown at the Bayard Solstice party. Everyone's high on the delusion that they're going to win because they rejected Helena's necromancy proposal and therefore rejected the call of evil or whatever. And Luke wants to hang out, but she's like, no, we are not friends. The old Helena can't come to the phone right now. Why? 'Cause she's dead. They don't have phones, but I bet they would have loved Taylor Swift. The next time Cain trains Helena, she pins him against the wall, and she could kill him, but she kisses him, because fuck the Holdfasts. And fuck Cain, actually, because they end up on the ground and have fast, awkward sex. And they have this awkward dialogue where Helena's like, you knew that was my job, and Cain's like, you seem pleased to have whored yourself. But internally, they're both miserable, and Cain's embarrassed he was a one-stroke wonder. And you know how after you have sex, you really want to talk about your mom? Cain does. So after Atreus got arrested, Cain came home from school to find that Moro was torturing his mom in a cage. Cain went undying to protect her. Moro only let her out when Cain brought him Apollo's still beating heart. His mom was weak from the toll and the torture. He tried to get her out of Palladia, but she wouldn't leave without him. And even though Cain was undying, he was still getting beaten and tortured. When his mom saw that, she had a literal heart attack. And no one from the Resistance knew any of this. Nobody has ever used pillow talk to confess their traumas to me, and I'm not sure I like what that says about me. And then he cries because he doesn't want to love anyone if they're just going to get tortured. When he feels vulnerable with her, he's just like, ah! yeah, if I love you, you'll die. And that's why he's so mean to her. Even if the resistance wins, he knows they'll go back on the deal. He's trying to get as high up in the Undying as possible so that when he does die, he can maximize the fallout. How's she supposed to kill him after that? She tells him she has 1 month to prove that Cain will do what they want, but he knows manacles when he sees them. On the way back, Helena stops at this drop site and Crowther's there. He sees her bruises from training and her disheveled hair from sex. And he's like, what did you do? And she's like, I made him loyal. He should feel bad, but he doesn't. Instead, he acknowledges that she's the best asset the Eternal Flame has, which you'll notice is not an apology. The next day, Crowther goes with Helena to negotiate a new deal with Cain. And as Helena leaves, he tells Cain to beg. And when Crowther comes out, he's like, you did good work. And sorry, but I need to go off for a second because this is my least favorite type of man, okay? The like mediocre yet emotionally withholding guy who's like, you know, they're proud of you, but like they're never gonna say it. And when they do, it's like the bare minimum. And you're supposed to be like so grateful for those crumbs. Like, oh my God, I must have really knocked it out of the park because he said good job. Ugh, fuck off. You are middle management. Be normal. I have no experience with this type of person. Moving on. Now Helena's only allowed to see Cain once a week to give him a fat stack of orders from Crowther. The tide is turning for the resistance, by which I mean they are losing. They are losing battles. They are losing ground. And check your milk cartons, folks, because Luke is missing. And Lila was hit by some super strong Nullium. All's quiet on the Luke front. The Undying won't even confirm if they have him. And everybody's worried that he's going to get killed or returned as a lich. Cain doesn't know anything. The Undying think there's a spy in their ranks, so they've been locking everything down. Soren's putting together an unauthorized rescue squad to get Luke. There are a few soldiers, plus Helena and Purnell. Helena's job will be to get Luke out of there alive. Purnell, Crowther's plant, earned a slot by giving Soren all the deeds. And Soren basically gives her permission to reanimate him if he dies so he can keep fighting for Luke. Helena is like, wow, cool plan, love it, but I will need to acquire some things first. And then she runs to the lab and gives Shiseo the plan. She's like, get it to the outpost or give it to Ilva, dealer's choice. The rescue squad goes through the flood canals under the city to find a prison. There were no necrothralls stopping them, by the way. And it's like, we're getting our miracle, babe. This is the power of the sun. They find the Havgoshian prison guard, Wagner, who Moro wanted, and unfortunately, he will be coming with them. And then they run into a lich who is, surprise, Atreus Farron. I did forget to be shocked by this because we did learn this in part 1. They re-kill him, but he was guarding this operating room where some doctor freaks have Luke like open on the table. And his organs are all black and necrotic, and the rescue squad kills him while Helena closes Luke up. Zip, zip. And as she does, her ring, which I hope you didn't forget about, burns. And she also gives him one of those tablets from part 1. And where did she get those? Oh, from her brain, because she invented them. They backtrack through the sewers and run into Blackthorn, the crazy evil Undying, with a pack of necrothralls, aspirants, and chimeras. Purnell is losing it, and Wagner shoves her at the necrothralls and tries to run. Purnell falls into the sewer current and presumably dies. And quick aside, recall when we saw 2 sisters in part 1 and one, quote, looked as if she was trapped in an invisible current? Well, the squad mostly holds their own until Blackthorn hits Soren's center mass with an axe. The star is dead, but the show must go on. She reanimates Soren just like he asked. Even though Soren fights hard, he is literally ripped apart from chimeras. Like, this scene is gory and violent and fucked up, and if you want the full details, why don't you go read the book, you little freak. Blackthorn stabs her in the chest and grabs her, and he like tortures her and taunts her, and he's like sticking his fingers on the wound, and it is just, again, disgusting. This scene's for the freaks. Helena accidentally dropped her knives, and now she can't fight back. But he drops her when this Undying comes in and straight up rips out Blackthorn's talisman. Goodbye, bitch. Meanwhile, this mystery Undying is like on a killing spree. It's obviously Cain, and he is like so cool. He is like flinging metal and he's like manipulating it so it's like bullets, but it's like bullets that kind of like go out and come back. Super cinematic scene. Honestly, like loved that. Very welcome from the just like fucked up shit from pages before. Helena stops him from killing literally everybody, but they knock out the gang while Cain takes Helena to this like secret room, and he heals her with a medical kit that she made him. He even talks her through what he's doing, which is what she did when she treated his array. And when he's done fixing her hands, he like massages him like she did to him and like he did to her in part 1. And she's like, you'd be a good healer. Oops, he's the opposite. Sorry, just one of life's funny mysteries. And Cain is like, I am not helping you fuckers if they don't keep you alive. And she's like, You're just trying to save me because you couldn't save your mom. And he says, you are not replaceable, he said, his hands trembling against her shoulders. You are not required to make your death convenient. You are allowed to be important to people. The reason I'm here, the reason I'm doing any of this is to keep you alive, to keep you safe. That was the deal. He searched her face. They didn't tell you. And then they kiss! Back at headquarters, Crowther takes Wagner prisoner. Helena goes to the hospital to help with Luke, and he is screaming. He's angry. He's delirious. Feverish. Helena tries to use her resonance to figure out what's going on, but she is pushed back hard. Luke accuses her of using necromancy on Soren and then kicks her out. So the rescue squad did see Helena use necromancy, but they're not snitches. Officially, Soren died protecting them, which is true. Luke hallucinated, and it was a miracle. Thank you to the sun. No thank you to Helena. You can fuck off now. So long and good night. Unfortunately, bringing someone back to life is not like super good for you. Helena has these awful nightmares about being ripped apart like Soren was. She goes to the outpost and passes out, and then she hallucinates, shock, Kane putting her on his monster, not a euphemism, and flies her to an apartment on the West Island. And it is so heartbreaking because they're having these like incredibly vulnerable conversations that Helena does not think are real. I don't want to always be alone, she said. It was easier to be honest in the dark. I want to love someone without feeling like if they know, it'll end up hurting them. People who love me always die. No matter what I do, it's never enough to save them. I have to love everyone from a distance, and I'm so lonely. You don't have to push me away to protect me, he said in a hard, familiar voice. I can take it. You can stop being lonely. I won't misunderstand. I know you just want someone to be with. He didn't let go. Helena, she stilled at her name. I'm alone too, he said. I just ripped my heart out of my fucking chest. And then they kiss. We are eating so good, Helena Hive. And then she cries. And like, can I be cheesy? They don't even have sex. They make love. Look, I am not a sex scene girl, okay? That's not my business. I didn't record this from my Shigun shack. But this was such a beautiful, intimate, gentle pocket of tenderness and intimacy and connection. I'm sorry for all of the adjectives. It's just that when I read it, I knew this book would break me. And just like thinking back to the rape scenes in part 1, like how fucking tragic that this moment that was just theirs, even that's like taken from them and inverted and sullied. And it's just like, I have put my heart in this book's hands, the hands being pages, and I am going to see what they do with it. The next morning, Helena doesn't remember the night before, and Kane is just like, oh, you just wanted someone to be with, and I was there. And so like at this point, I guess the pieces of my heart have just been like put in the fucking sewer. But he is not just someone to Helena, okay? And when she tells him that, he pulls her close and says, you're mine. You swore yourself to me. Now and after the war. I'm going to take care of you. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. You don't have to be lonely because you're mine. So in the theme of using post-coital chit-chat to talk about their parents, Helena drops that Atreus isn't dead. Now obviously that throws him for a loop, but not nearly as much as the whole like, I put the holy people goose stone inside of you thing. Kane flies her back to headquarters on his whip, a chimera named Amaris. She is a winged horsey wolf, and Amaris is Latin for you are loved. It's sweet! When she gets back, Crowther is so mad at her, not just for the whole like using necromancy thing, but for going on the rescue mission at all. And Helena's like, that was your thing. Like, Purnell was your girl. She was not. She was Ivy's girl. Ivy's sister, to be exact. And she bursts in the room and she was like, you were supposed to protect her if I did what you asked. And he's like, I didn't tell her anything. She probably heard it from you. And it doesn't matter because Ivy's out. Helena chats with Wagner. His contribution to the book is that Morrow used this 9-point array to suck the life out of 8 sacrificial lives, and bada bing, bada boom, made the Undying. Wagner's then murdered off page for losing his plot relevance. And Farron confirms that this is how the process works. His servants at Spirefell, who basically raised him, were juiced to make him. He used to hear them screaming inside him. And with all of this, they realize that the only way to kill Morrow is to kill all of the Undying. And that's a bummer, because we like Kane now. Also from here on out, they meet on the rooftops, and when they say goodbye, Helena's like, be careful, don't die, and Kane's like, you're mine. I'll always come for you. And that's going to be like the thing they say to each other, so just like assume that's what they're saying from here on out. The resistance is now on a steady, unmanaged decline. Luke won't let Helena heal Lila, so she's taking a long time to recover from the nullium. Shiseo also designs a nullium cuff to stop people from using alchemy, but it doesn't fully work yet. And Helena's like, what if we could like put nullium through the wrist? And it's like, don't do that, Helena. Don't invent your own torture. You stop that. You stop. Okay, so you know how the Stone of the Heavens was basically life energy? What if you captured death energy? That's basically what Helena's thinking, and then she finds a way to channel death energy from a dying patient into obsidian. One day, Helena finds Lila in the lab, on the floor and upset. She's like 10 minutes pregnant, which she knows because she's a Vivimancer, surprise. And she would have told Helena, but frankly, she did not want what Helena has, and who could blame her? Luke's the dad, by the way. They weren't together before. This is a new development. Lila's big fear is that this pregnancy is going to become her entire legacy instead of all of the cool paladin shit she earned, which is like a fair concern. This pregnancy will be going on the DL. Helena's like, okay, we'll tell everybody that you're sick with bog cough. That sounds real, right? And so Lila's going to be quarantined in her room for a little bit. For now, new prisoner just dropped. Her name is Warden Mandel, and she was in charge of this warehouse they just raided. It had all these like nasty little like Matrix-ass tanks full of like dead resistance fighters, lovingly and gently warmed the way 7-Eleven does the big bites. And we saw those in part 1. Helena hits her with a cheeky bit of animancy torture to learn that the bodies are for the undying, test subjects, and thralls. But hold that thought, because it's war crime time. A nullium bomb goes off, so big that the air is hazy with nullium dust. This driver comes in and tells Helena that Falcon Matthias put her in charge of a field hospital on the island, since she has the most experience with nullium. He has a paper to prove it. Matthias never gives her orders, and frankly, who knows if he even knows how to write. Something's off, but she goes. The field hospital is a nightmare. People are arriving in pieces. Dust, smoke, metal and blood are so thick in the air that she can taste it. No reinforcements are coming. Their goal is to survive. General Althorn's there, and he's like, what are you doing here? Go back before Farron finds out. But she can't, because whistles shriek as the necrothralls come. Helena loads up the dead and injured into trucks with the medics and nurses, and Helena stays back since she's the leader, which is lucky since this necrothrall driving a truck hits the last of the survivors, and a bomb goes off when both their cars collide. A hunk of metal hits Helena in the chest. She's gonna die, but she's gotta move. She slashes at the necrothralls with obsidian, but there are too many, and she passes out. When she comes to, Kane has rescued her and taken her to Spirefell. He has her in a bed with an IV. He didn't know about the bombing, and it's not like he could have stopped it. He sent in his necrothralls to make sure she wasn't there, and he didn't know why she would be unless they wanted her to die. And then they have this exchange. It's a war, Kane. People die. Given your personal death toll, you should know that better than anyone else. You know that I'm not going to prioritize my survival over everyone else's. He stared at her for a long, terrible moment, the rage stark on his face. Well, you should. He was suddenly ice cold, and his eyes gleamed so silver that they were almost white. Because I have warned you. If something happens to you, I will personally raise the entire Order of the Eternal Flame. That isn't a threat, it's a promise. Consider your survival as much a necessity to the Resistance as holdfasts. If you die, I will kill every single one of them, given that the risk to their lives is the only way to make you value your own. And yes, that is the quote from the end of part 1. And now he has become the very threat that Crowther feared he might be. The maids take care of her. It's the same crew from part 1, even though they've been dead for years. You might think it's rude that he reanimated them, but honestly, he didn't even mean to. But he's not going to kill them again. Helena spends a month at Spirefell, and would you believe me if I said that not once does she pick up the fucking paper? They're not turning the war around, by the way, like in case that wasn't obvious. Althorn died, the Undying have the ports, and when the war's done, Kane's giving up. He's over it. And they fantasize about what they might do after the war. Kane could become a healer. She could see the world. They both think that they're going to die, so why not play pretend? Helena tells him about the obsidian and that it worked. So that's cool, like he's aware of that situation now. And while she recovers, Davies brings her writings by the ancient alchemist Cetus. He's kind of like Aesop in that he may or may not have existed, but he's been around since at least Orion's days. They do it one more time before Helena leaves, and it is then that she realizes that she loves him. But she doesn't tell him, because if she did, then this book wouldn't hurt me so bad. Okay, quick status report from headquarters. They're fucked. Most of their territory is gone, most of their forces are gone. Other forces are nulliumed. Crowther's prisoners are gone. Ilva is dead. Supplies totally out. No way to get more. But Lila's pregnancy is going well, and babies fix everything. Crowther didn't share the goss that Helena survived the bomb, so people are genuinely surprised to see her there alive. Her first order of business is to call out Crowther's bullshit. He's done nearly getting Kane killed. She will be approving Kane's orders from here on out. Helena's doing last rites now to harvest death energy to make obsidian weapons. They work, but they're a little fragile. They even kill liches, so now the Undying are off the front lines. But it also means that there's a very real chance that Kane could die. So Lila's dad was this guy, General Bayard, and he was the general before the events of part 2. But he suffered this bad head injury, and Helena tried to fix him. He can't talk, and he's kind of mentally a toddler. So all of this time, she's been kind of checking on him and trying to see, is he getting better? But now that she understands animancy better, she wants to take another stab at fixing Titus Bayard's brain. And Rhea, his wife, almost lets her, but then Luke bursts in last minute and bullies her into saying no. She will not be touching Luke with her dirty necromancer hands, and she will not be healing Titus. The new general, Hutchins, is a huge believer in Luke, destiny, and the power of the sun. And he's not a big believer in things like supply chains or logistics or manpower. And unfortunately for him, that is how wars are won. Hevgos and Moro are allies now, so Luke and Hutchins want to try one last Hail Mary before the Hevgosians arrive. Because you never know, they still have the chance to lose everything. And when has reality ever stopped the truly delusional? They literally have to scavenge for armor and weapons, and they're willing to send out children and women. But God forbid that they consider necromancy for a second. Send the kids to the front lines? Good. Great. Do a little bit of necromancy to prevent that? Bad. Horrible. The sun will be very mad at you. The council wants to send Luke to Novus to do diplomacy, and hell no, Luke will not go. Instead, they're sending Matthias with a box full of gold that Luke made. Oh my god. They're fucked. No one wants your weird priest in crafts. After seeing all of this, Helena turns 360 degrees and walks right back to Crowther and tells him that she is going to build a bomb.
My one thing was I went into the Disney Channel building and I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history. And that's what this is.
Kane is all in on that plan, by the way. He's just glad to see the resistance trying. He'll make a necrothrall plant the bomb at the banquet for Hevgosian officials, Moro, and the rest of the Undying. This might be the end, and if it is, Kane's gonna die. And she's sorry that she couldn't figure out a way to separate his life from Moro's. But he never expected that she could. That would be impossible. But Helena's not walking away. If the resistance loses, they're fucked for the obvious reasons. But if the resistance pulls this off, Helena still used necromancy. It'll take months for them to decide what to do with her. Both of them want the other to run, but neither is leaving without the other. Shiseo ends up delivering the bomb to Kane. Helena coated it with Molion Shi and her mirroring elixir so that nobody will find it. And she did that to her ring too, just in case. And then Helena checks on Lila, who's still quarantined but now visibly pregnant. And Lila casually drops that Luke has known about the baby for a while, and he specifically didn't want her sent away to Novus so that she'd be safe. So, Luke won't let Helena touch him. He won't let Helena heal Titus, but he is totally cool letting her take care of his unborn child. She's got to talk to Luke, but she can't because he's in a private hospital room. Elaine Boyle, his personal healer, is giving him the kind of drugs you would give to a dying horse. Oh, and did you know that Luke's been getting brain fevers since the rescue? Did you know that when they get really, really bad, he gets delirious and claws at himself and screams, "Get him out!" Did you know that he really, really, really did not want Helena involved? Do you know where Helena has seen this before? Yes, you do. It's the field hospital where her dad was killed when they put a lich into a living body. He has been Moro's lich for months. They thought they saved Luke just in time, but they were too late. The pain of learning that you lost the war months ago. Helena grabs her knives, her obsidian, and her healing supplies. She's got a hold fast to kill. But first, she warns Shiseo to run. She heads out to a camp on the East Island. Her bomb was a huge success, and necrothralls have been dropping like flies. No one in the resistance even considered that their team was competent enough for that. It's a miracle until it's not, because the Undying have taken headquarters, and that has never happened in the course of the war. Luke's at camp, and obviously he doesn't want to see Helena, but when she's like, it's about Lila, he tunes the fuck in. When Luke and Helena are alone, she's like, you wouldn't let me heal Titus, but you'd let me take care of your heir. And Luke says, Lila can protect herself. You've already done enough to Titus. Helena's throat closed, but in that moment, she knew this was not Luke. So who is he? You can call him Cetus.
Cetus Lapidus!
He and his brother were twins who drained their mother's life force and were born upon her funeral pyre. We heard half of this in part 1, but unfortunately it is twice as badass when it's twins. And you know his twin, actually. It's Orion Holdfast, the inventor of Palladia. Orion ditched him after the whole, stone of the heavens thing. Other fun fact, Orion was an animancer and a vivimancer, so it's kind of hypocritical that all that stuff was suppressed. And Cetus is not Moro's dad or mentor. No, he is Moro. But his knowledge and intel doesn't seem to feed into Moro, so I'm just gonna call Luke Lich Moro Cetus, just so that we're clear. But anyways, Luke is fucked. They will not be able to untangle him from Cetus. And then it's time for our classic villain lore reveal. So Moro actually had Cain steal Apollo's living heart to replace his. The shitty, fucked up organs inside Luke were actually Moro's nasty rot bags. And Cetus Luke got Lila pregnant on purpose to harvest the baby for more organs. Cetus knew Helena was an animancer the second she tried to check him out. That's why he gave her such a hard smackdown. And Luke is an animancer too. He just always used it passively as a kind of super charisma. Helena's not sure Luke even knew he was an animancer. And it's sad because all this time, Helena and her dad had refused to run. And it's all because Luke was kind of doing this automatic animancy on her. She never really got a choice. Helena mentally wrestles with Cetus and talks to the real Luke, who tells her that Cetus killed Ilva. He begs her to never tell Lila that she had sex with Cetus. And then when Cetus gets back in control, Helena stabs him with the obsidian knife. And despite Helena's best efforts to save him, Luke slips away. He says he died back in the lab and begs her to run and take Lila far away. And then he dies. She is on it, boss. But as she runs back towards headquarters, a pack of necrothralls kind of herd her towards Cain, who takes her back to his apartment. And Cain's like, it's over. The Undying won. And also, what was the strat on leaving headquarters unguarded? And Helena fills him in on the whole Luke Cetus thing. He's like, this whole war was just two brothers fighting over who gets to play God. And it's yeah, dog, all of this was for fucking nothing. Thank you for playing. Goodbye. Hope you didn't get too invested. Helena won't leave without Lila. Cain's like, if you want Moro dead, we can't rescue anyone. And Helena's like, if you want Moro dead, we gotta get Lila. And Helena promises that if he does it, she will get straight off her bullshit, leave, and will not come back. And Cain does buy this. He brings Lila back from Bennett's lab. She's been manacled and her prosthetic leg is gone, but he had to blow his cover to get her back. Tomorrow, everyone will find out. He sacrificed himself for Helena and Lila. This is goodbye. And Helena's like, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna destroy the records. I'm gonna go back. We gotta save you too. And Cain is like, what does off your bullshit mean to you? You are going. Helena wakes up after Cain sedated her and gave her one of the chill pills she developed. I know what you're thinking. If Helena and Lila get out, who kills Moro? No one. No one does. Cain says, if the Eternal Flame wanted to win, they should have made better choices. They all knew the risks, but that was never enough incentive for them. They refuse to pay the price that victory demands, and I am sick of watching you try to pay it for them. But now Helena won't leave unless she talks to Shiseo, or she'll be really mad at him. We can't have that. While Cain's out fetching Shiseo, she raids the apartment for metals in an unexpectedly methy move. Cain brings him back and then takes Lila off to safety. He'll get Helena when he comes back. She says she'll be waiting for him. As soon as Cain's gone, Helena's like, sorry, Shiseo, I did not need you, but while I have you here, would you like to build some bombs? And they do. Helena's going to blow up the Westport lab. Shiseo realizes there's just enough time for his backstory. He volunteers to plant the bombs because his half-brother is the Emperor of the East, so if he gets caught, his lore will protect him. So sweet of him, but Helena says no. She goes to the West Island port and runs into Ivy and Crowther, who's a necrothrall now. Ivy betrayed the resistance in exchange for Sophia, who Mora reanimated for her. Helena commandeers several necrothralls to plant the bombs. She runs away as they go off, and I bet she doesn't even appreciate how badass that is. She fights her way out of the area, but she runs into Lancaster and an animated General Althorn, wearing a necklace with the Farron family crest. It's Atreus! Again! They capture her, and when she wakes up, she's been manacled. She's in a cage at headquarters, which is a horror show. Like, Titus's reanimated corpse is eating Rhea alive while the Undying cheer. And then a car rolls up. Necrothrall Luke steps out of it and bows as Morrow emerges. He's wearing a mask with an eclipsed sun on his face, which is considerate. Morrow says he's giving immortality to all who are worthy, and Necrothrall Luke is emphatically gesturing like... But Morrow's like, nope, and then like blasts his face with resonance. Then Warden Mandel sees Helena and demands she be taken out. It really is you. Mandel appraised her as Helena was dropped at her feet. You certainly put up a fight. Were you afraid I'd find you? Helena had scarcely thought of Mandel since she'd finished interrogating her. Helena's supposed to be interrogated, but Mandel's like, actually, no. As they take Helena to the stasis tanks, she uses the little bit of resonance she has to animancy away her memories of Cain. If you can't remember it, you can't confess to it. Mandel personally puts her in the tank and chooses not to inject her with the coma juice everyone else gets, and she destroys Helena's record so she won't be found. And then Helena's trapped in the tank. It's claustrophobic, cold, and dark. She's in this loop of like unconsciousness, electric zaps, and terror. She's barely conscious, but she feels the ring burning. She knows Cain will come for her. But for now, she could feel the faint texture in her mind of her manipulations, altering her thoughts, bending them around all the things she must not think about. She followed the new paths over and over, wearing new grooves into place, teaching her mind to settle there and look no further. She counted. She made routines. She tried not to remember. If Cain found her, he'd understand. She could wait. Hold on. You promised you wouldn't break. And that's part 2. Mind if I get comfy really quick? So I loved this part like immediately, like absolute favorite for me right off the bat. And because of that, my standards for part 3 were pretty high. And like, did it meet them? I don't know. We'll find out then. But first, let's talk about part 2. Okay, so I generally do not like war in my romantasy. Like, I think that battle scenes are usually more chaotic than they are compelling. I don't like how wars get simplified into these like very basic conflicts of like, there's the good guys who want to chill, and then there's the evil guys who want to be evil. I think a particularly like annoying, uncompelling example of this is like the war and like A Court of Wings and Ruin. Like, that was especially bad for me. Like, it usually just ends up being like there's this contrived thing that they have to like stop, and they never stop it, and they just build toward it, and then like whatever. I liked that this war was not that. I liked that this war was politically messy. Like, Morrow is evil, but like he's not just like lying to the people or being like, you can be evil now, right? Like, there was a real social divide that the holdfasts turned a blind eye to. The resistance is the good guys, but they're not perfect. They hurt people. They use people. Their religion is sexist and oppressive. They are hypocrites. They were practically founded on hypocrisy. Vivimancy and animancy are evil unless it's the holdfasts doing it. Crowther keeps warning Helena how obsessive Cain is, but Crowther was so obsessed with trying to end necromancy that he jeopardized Cain and prevented him from actually being able to help the resistance. They're hypocrites. And I loved how it subverted the idea that good will simply conquer evil. Like, throughout the book, it's clear that Morrow's side like wants to win way more than the resistance does. This is not a noble, clean fight. Like, they are constantly figuring out how to kill and maim. And like, Helena is the only person the resistance has who's like moving their war tech along, and they take her for granted. Speaking of war tech, there were very interesting parallels to me between World War I and II, because unfortunately I do listen when history dads talk. The back and forth of the war reminded me of like trench warfare. The weapons getting like better and better at maiming also reminded me of World War I tech. People were very good at nearly killing people back then. So that's what I loved. What I didn't love, the repetition. So this is also like linked to some challenges kind of created by this book's structure. So like, because part 1 takes place after part 2, by the time we're reading part 2, there's a lot of reveals that already happened in part 1. Like, for example, like in part 2, surprise, Atreus is alive. And that's actually like a reveal for Helena and Cain. But it didn't feel like that when I read it because like I saw him as a lich and I knew he was a lich in part 1. It would have been like less repetitive if it was like we saw Lich Atreus in part 1, but we didn't confirm or even know that it was him until part 2. And then there's some things that lose their punch because we already saw them in part 1, right? Like Helena sees eyes in glass watching her for the first time and that really spooks her. But like we already knew about the eye thing in part 1 and the way it was delivered then was way more shocking. And because of the timing, there are reveals that almost have to be repeated because the information in part 1 has not technically dropped yet. Like when Cetus tells Helena about being born from his mother's corpse on the funeral pyre, like this time we get the reveal that he's Orion's twin. I think it would be less repetitive if there was more implication during one of those reveals so that like we the readers are able to connect the dots ourselves. So another thing that's like super repetitive is just the way that scenes are structured in the book. So like I did a lot of work on this recap to keep it under an hour, and part of that did include consolidating some scenes and rearranging them and merging them just because in the actual book it'll be like Helena's at the hospital, Helena sees Cain at the outpost, Helena reports back to Ilva and Crowther, Helena goes back to the outpost, Helena goes back to the hospital, Helena sees Cain at the outpost. And to be honest, this didn't bother me very much when I was reading it for the first time because like they're actually not the same scenes over and over. The conversation's usually new. We're getting new plot points, but I just think they could have been consolidated. All that being said, I really liked that part 1 was first because like it changes what part 2 is all about. Like it's not about like, will they win the war and how? It's like, where did it all go wrong and when? Like, we know all of these people died. We just don't know when, and we just don't know how. The twists are who survives rather than who dies, and it's almost like painful to see resistance leaders with their heads in their asses when we've seen and felt what's at stake. That hits a lot harder. I forgive them less. Another gripe that I had was just that like Luke and Helena's friendship at this point, like it pretty much starts off where they're like strained and not talking very much. And I feel like in the fan fiction, if I had read that, I would have come into it with the knowledge that like Harry and Hermione were friends. I didn't know that. I didn't really know or see what their relationship was like. So it was kind of hard to really buy how much Helena like believed in Luke or like that they had this rock solid friendship. Yeah, because I just personally never saw that. I think I just wish that we could have seen their friendship more on the page. Okay, final thing I want to talk about, the love story. The slowest burn. So I actually loved that Cain was like genuinely mean because it meant that he had to grow and let himself be vulnerable in order to love Helena. Like it wasn't like, oh, Helena thinks he's sexy, so his taunting finally wears her down. No. I have seen people describe Helena and Cain's love as codependent. Hot take, I don't think those people know what codependency is. I think these are two people whose trauma makes them like very obsessed with saving each other because everybody that they love dies. Helena does not believe she is inherently lovable. Like throughout this whole part, Helena frequently tells herself like whatever will convince her that Cain doesn't like her, and they're just like using each other. Maybe some of this is from the religious abuse about the origins of vivimancy. I don't know. I'll put this quote on screen here. Like when they have sex for the first time, like she almost enjoys it, and then she like shames herself out of it. Or another quote here, she dismisses herself as being stupid because she's glad that Cain genuinely complimented her. By the time we're halfway through part 2, it became really obvious to me that like he loves her or at least has affection for her, and she cannot accept that. And then it's like, what's Cain's deal? Cain's deal is he is a super lonely dude who lost everyone and everything, including his humanity, and he was like setting everything up so that his death would be the ultimate revenge. And then he found somebody worth living for. And when you look at how much he had to grow for them to love each other, it makes all of the stuff in part 1 super tragic. He's Moro's star in a Palladia that he never wanted to see. And he's mean to her and he hurts her, but like if you go back, it's literally only times where people are watching or when like the eyes in the hallway could be monitoring him. I don't think he's trying very hard to get her memories, even though he's being tortured for it. The person that he loves is rightfully terrified of him. Oh, and like he has to rape her lest she be raped so much worse. So I don't know. I loved it. I'm sorry if you didn't. It's fine if you didn't. And if you didn't like it, tell me about it in the comments because I want to know what you think. And if you liked it, tell me about it in the comments because I want to know what you think. If you liked this, like it. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Happy to have you around. All right. Bye.